Hey, Garth, this is Nico. I'll just go ahead and go. I kind of want to know how this whole thing came about. It seemed like I don't know. It feels like it happened really quickly, and obviously not a move that you're bringing in a player to fill in a position of need, but definitely one that allows you to have a lot of flexibility and move things around in your roster and your, starting 11 if need be.
Yeah, you hit the net. What it does is it gives competition in the squad, and it gives us optionality. With Brad here, it allows you to play offense, defense. Him and Nuhu at left. We've seen Jovan Jones have success up the line at right wing. If Jovan plays there, then can also play in the middle. If Christian plays in the middle, then Gustav can also play at center back. So it honestly, it makes us better in 4 or 5 different ways. It certainly adds an explosive player to our team. And the team, looks pretty solid now that we have Brad. So in terms of how it came together, I think Brad alluded to it pretty well. He had stayed in touch with Adrian and with guys on the team, et cetera, and really enjoyed his time and all that. And, throughout the process when he was, there just really wasn't any to extricate him at that time. But, then he came up this summer and he was a free player, and we were able to, what was a rational for us from the economic perspective, salary cap, and to add a player of his skill level and proven ability, and in particular in the pandemic, it's really, really hot right now. State the obvious, we can't go watch players live, and so to get a known commodity, I think was particularly fortunate for us.
Garth, we talked extensively about, you mentioned the salary cap right there and the resources that you guys had available. What was it and what does it say about your team that allowed it to financially be possible to bring Brad in?
Well, cap to Brad because he was willing to be flexible with what we had this year, and to assure the deal in a way that allowed us to get him in now. Because as you guys, we spent all our money, which was true, and so we were able to up over more on the back end for Brad, and was willing to be full. We were able to pull off. So we always want, first and foremost, players who really want to be here, and there's no that Brad, Brad really wanted to be here. Brad had other offers. I don't know how much he disclosed about that, but he had other opportunities. He had things he could have done, but he chose the Sounders, and we are certainly very grateful that he made that decision.
Can you, hey Garth, can you share a little bit about the length of it? It sounds like from what he was saying that it sounds like it's a couple years or a couple seasons that he'll be here. Or
Brad signed through 2022.
Hey Garth, you talked a little bit about Brad wanting to be here, but what can you say just about his character? Because even over just listening to him, you can see he's got energy, giddy, and he wants to be here. What can you say about him inside the locker room and what that helps the team?
Look, he was saying it right. I mean, he's buddies with our guys, and that you can't kind of wish that kind of chemistry. You when you see it, you obviously want to continue it, and it was very clearly a reason why Brad wanted to come back as well. And look, I mean, he's got a young family. We have a number of the guys in the locker room with young families, and I think that we're culturally a pretty good fit for also are here to play soccer. I think that stuff appealed to Brad. Obviously, you can ask him a little bit more about that, Moz. But again, he's excited. We're excited. Hopefully, that makes for a good marriage.
Garth, on a totally different topic, and feel free to pass if this isn't the appropriate venue for this, but was just kind of wondering what you guys are doing as a club to kind of monitor the air conditions and everything that's going on ahead of tomorrow's match.
Yep. Yeah, we expect to play. Right now, the air levels are are deemed, playable. The forecast right now is for the air quality to improve between now and tomorrow night. So the league's monitoring it, but we expect to play it, Michelle.
Thank you.
On that, can you say, have the Sounders had to move training inside this week, or how has it affected training this week?
We followed the advice of the local public authorities and our own team doctors, and we followed a modified them this week, but we have been able to train. It's been a mixed, some inside, some outside.
And also, can you share what's the status of Gustav?
Yes, he remains a team, and until that is completed, he's not eligible.
You don't. Okay, there's no time frame.
There is a set time frame, Jada, but would prefer not to discuss that publicly, as that's part of the health program.
Okay. Well, as far as can you share a little bit? I mean, you talked about the versatility with Brad, but I mean, having to quarantine and the way that your schedule is, things. How do you figure that he's going to be able to? I mean, do you think he'll be able to make an immediate impact, or how soon do you expect to see him on the field?
We'll get him in. Once he's able to train with the team, then we'll get him in with our guy and assess his fitness. And we just haven't been able to do any of that stuff yet, Jada. He didn't play a ton when he was with Cardiff, so he's going to be a little rusty from a match perspective, one way or the other. But he's a guy who's pretty naturally fit, as you guys are seeing. That kind of athlete stays pretty lean usually. So I think a little bit. I certainly don't think he's going to come in from day one. And look, we've had Nuhu's played very well in that position, and Jovin's played well in that position. So we have a number of choices there. Right now we only know of the 3 games on the schedule. But if more games get added, I would imagine those will come pretty fast and furious. If we're playing multiple games a week, then I think there's a role for all 3 of the guys, right? For Jovin, for Nuhu, so most important factor in our season, if you look at trying to win the chip, is going to be being healthy in November. If you have even small injuries when you're playing a compressed schedule, like they could force you miss multiple matches, and that's really what we avoid with our guys.
So Garth, you said
Felipe, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Felipe, we can't hear you.
Come
You're garbled.
to Sounders. Any other options, and if there is any other so can you hear me now?
Yeah, try again, Felipe. The first part of that was completely cut off.
I'm always saying that if there were any other options other than Brad Smith that you were looking into.
Yes. So we had one foreign spot open, and so we were looking to see what we could do with that. Obviously, an amount of money. So again, it was always more likely to have some kind of known commodity where we'd have some flexibility in how to structure the deal. But yes, we're looking at other positions, but we do expect that this is going to be this is probably in a sense that we open international, so you would have to be around to or we'd have to acquire an international spot.
Hey Garth, considering the budget and everything, how much of the fact that Brad could be a long-term solution at left back, and the fact that you're kind of getting him on a deal by him not having a contract and having to pay a transfer fee on him, had to do with you guys making this move right now?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be willing to make, as you say, Nico, make deals at the right times. And the deal with Brad was never there to be done on a long-term basis. And, it emerged, honestly, unexpectedly, because we figured he would go back to England and probably, do very well and honestly, probably play at that, stay there and play at that level. And, we were fortunate. So, I mean, that he for whatever reason, Brad didn't play as much as maybe he had hoped. And so it came free, and we were able to capitalize on that opportunity.
Garth, also financially, did it in a reverse way kind of help that you don't have or didn't have as many games kind of set up right now? I mean, if you kind of factor, pay for per game kind of thing, did that kind of help as far as this contract?
Yeah, some leagues work on that. They pay Jada. Our salary cap works on a basis on a calendar. So in this case, the number of games was not a factor.
Okay, thanks.
Garth, do you expect to see any players moving out as you look to fill that last international spot? Obviously, you talked about how Brad brings a lot of depth and versatility, but that obviously means competition for playing time and players, necessarily not being happy with increased competition and wanting to get on field.
Yeah, and then let me make sure that I'm being clear. So we had one spot open. Brad Smith filled that spot. So we now have 0 spots open. But we don't have to move anyone out to accommodate Brad Smith's signing. So he was willing to fit into the spot that we had, and that's could change, Mickey. I mean, the transfer window is open until October 29. So sure, you can still see player movement in or out, but there's nothing that's necessitated as a result of the Brad Smith deal.
Garth, you've had a kind of habit now of bringing back guys who have had success here. Now, Brad and then Jovan Jones before. Is that a philosophy that kind of goes into the overall kind of club image of we want guys who we know we trust and who also we know like being here?
Look, we have a mantra that we try to treat guys better on the way out than on the way in. And again, not that we treat them poorly on the way in, but that, even with the club, we try to treat them with respect, and we try to make any kind of termination that happens or is needed, as friendly as possible. And hopefully that helps us preserve these types of relationships such guys, because again, we can talk about front office machines and scouting all we want, but at the end of the day, if players want to play for us and good players want to play for us, then that's going to make everybody a lot easier. And the players are the ones that win the game. So I do think we have a good culture that way. I think our coaching staff helps with that culture in terms of welcoming players and making them feel a part of what we're doing. And obviously, we've had some success of late as well, and I think players, want to be on successful teams as well. So if we have the right and the team's doing well, then hopefully there's that situation where players want to come back, and if they want to come back, then obviously that's good choices.
Hey Garth, I mean, going away from the Brad Smith subject, I kind of wanted to ask you. We haven't had really a time to talk. And now Ymar Gomez Andrade has had quite a few games. He seems like he's done quite well, very well in the position. How would you assess his time here in Seattle, his performances, and kind of the expected that you had from him to what he's done here?
Ymar's done well. I think he's been arguably our best center back so far. Which is, what we hoped for, it's what we expected when we signed him. He's the most expensive center back signing we've ever made. So in terms of transfer fee, and so we made a significant investment there. And again, hats off to Chris Henderson. He really did all the work on Ymar, and he went and saw him, and it looks like those guys. Again, no surprise, but because I think Chris's track record is about as impeccable as they come. I think he's the best at what he does in the league, and from a talent identification system standpoint, I think he absolutely knocked this one out of the park. And we always have Ravi on the other side of things, do the analytics and support of that. And again, I think Ravi's the best at what he does as well. So we're in very good hands as a franchise in terms of going out and trying to sign these players. And Ymar has done an excellent job for us since he's arrived.
Thank you.
Garth, how would you say that the condensed schedule affected your openness to bringing Brad back? I know at one point last year you had kind of said, we don't think we'll have 3 starting caliber left backs. You clearly have that again.
Yeah, and it was, an embarrassment of riches last year, and I think it kind of is again, Jeremiah. I mean, and again, this was, I think Nico touched on this. We just had this opportunity to get a player on a free transfer long term and a prime age. I mean, Brad's, I think, 25 years old, so right in the middle of his prime. And, when you have those opportunities, sometimes you just got to capitalize. And look, did we need a third? I mean, left back was not a position of need. It was. I mean, our left backs have both done well. We have 2 good left backs already. But the thing that Brad does is he allows to play differently, right? I mean, you can now play on the left with or just have an overwhelming speed counterattack type option. You can go defensive with Nuhu. You can play creative with one. The optionality this gives us is really remarkable. And I listed, it impacts 4 players, right? It's not just Jovan and Nuhu. If Jovan plays at right wing, then you slide Christian back to the middle. If Christian is in the middle, that allows you to slide Gustav to the back. And again, not saying we're going to do any or all those things, but for the coaches to have those choices, that creates competition in the squad and allows, even within a game or within now to your question, Jeremiah, in that compressed set of games, it allows you to play different players in different ways and rotate the squad a little bit more. And so it's really not about, one answer to one problem. It's hey, does this help you solve multiple issues in the midst? That's the thinking.
Any other questions, guys, or are we at our end here?
Yeah, I'll follow up with one more question. Obviously, you've built a very deep squad now for this year, and assuming the season goes off as they hope. But going into next year, I'm just curious how you've kind of game planned out the roster, considering some of the constraints that are in place with the salary cap modifications and things like that.
Yeah. Some potentially some difficult choices, Mickey. In terms of we've added a number of good players, we've kept a number of good players, and this is what happens when you have championship teams. You pay good wages for good players, right? And those players earn those wages. And the further you stay at the top, the longer you stay at the top, the harder and harder those choices get from a salary cap perspective. And if you throw in the wrinkle now of a flat cap, which means effectively you have less money than in all the projections. You're going to have to make some hard choices. But for us, we believe we have a chance to win the title. We believe now that we have a chance to defend our title. And, look, I'll go out on a little bit of a limb and say, look, if we're able to win it this year, and if we're able to repeat, then that gives us 3 titles, remembered as one of the better. So I'd say that's a thing worth playing for. That's a happen. And again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I don't mean aggrandizing or self-important, but I think Brad's a big sign for us, and I do think he allows us to put our best foot, take a shot at trying to defend our championship.
So, Garth, how are you holding up with the pandemic, the civil rights movement, and the environment, the weather?
It's interesting. Felipe, all those reasons, and it feels like every day, every week, one of those issues impacts us in some way, and we're just trying to do our best to make the world a better place, both from a climate perspective and from a social justice perspective, and trying to keep our players and staff as healthy as they can be.
Thank you.
Guys, if there's nothing else, we'll thank you all for your time. Garth, today.
I have one more.
Go for it.
Yeah, just with the Defiance, just as far as testing goes with you guys, with the first team, has everybody tested negative so far with the first team?
Yes. Since we've been back from Orlando, we have not had a single positive test in the first team, Jada.